Welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is, we're going back to numbering, by the way. Mike brought up a good point that we need to have a point of reference for the shows. So I think this is probably like episode 131. We'll straighten it up in the back room.
Post.
I think you're right.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Well, so I wanted to do this week an episode. I've said it a million times, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. And this may not be the best representation of it, but this was a pretty good week for watching the news and then seeing stuff that's going on underneath that big stream of information that's coming at us. So I wanted to, first of all, go over a few, news stories. We can talk about them. But then I wanted to hit you with some of the stuff that was, on the whisper stream underneath all that. Mm-hmm. And you guys, if anybody did look, you may have found other things, but these were, there was a few stories that kind of just were overlooked during this whole last week. The first story I wanted to talk about was the Jacksonville shooter. And I'm starting to notice that a lot of these shootings do happen around like interesting news periods, pockets of news. Not a lot to be said about it. It was racially motivated. Guy goes to the University of it's Edward Waters University, which is a historically Black campus. They turn him away. So he goes across the street, walks into a dollar store, and kills 3 people. They were all Black. And that's the gist of it. He was, for lack of a better term, Baker acted. They knew that he was bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, he actually went to another discount store before he went to the Dollar General, right?
I'm not sure. That's not in the news that I read about it.
I read one article. He went to the college and then to another store and then to the Dollar General, I think.
What I know is that they refused him entry because he wouldn't identify himself, which is, red flag.
At the Dollar General?
No, yeah.
Oh, at the college.
He had to identify himself at the Dollar General. Good one.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. But
I just want to get some good deals, man.
Yeah, dude, back off, man. I'm just trying to get something for $1. But so there's that story. He was previously evaluated for mental health crisis. He
was off his meds.
So wait, Zeus, time out. Are you saying that this is an underreported story?
No,
because
this was massively reported. It was all
okay. Over. All right. I just wanted to clear that up.
This is more of a, hey, look over here while this stuff goes under. And again, like I said, maybe the undercurrent stories aren't as massive as I think they are, but for me, they seemed very problematic. There was that. Then there was, of course, the Trump mugshot, which I've made it no secret that I'm not a big fan of the guy. But the office of president, I'm a huge fan of. And again, for me, so I'm at work and this one woman, she's like, I just can't wait to see the mugshot. I guess they were talking about a mugshot was going to be coming out.
They were.
Something like that. And I'm like, and I don't normally show my true colors. I'm like, how is that productive or how does that not do anything but dilute the world's view of our country? If we can just post, a picture of the president in his mugshot. For me, I was completely offended. I'm like, I'm like indignant. I'm like, how is this funny? And she's like, he's not above the law. I'm like, he hasn't been.
Nobody is.
What's that?
Nobody's above the law.
Yeah, it seems like some people are, but I digress.
I was just like, what are you talking about above the law? He hasn't been put into prison. He hasn't done any of these things, but you're going to put a mugshot of, I still sort of think, I'm starting to question anymore, but one of the most powerful men in the world, you're going to put a mugshot of him. How is that going to do anything but dilute the office of its power? So that was very offensive to me.
Well, also Zeus, on that note, it was completely unnecessary. I mean, period, because the whole purpose of the mugshot, from what I understand, is so that the court can identify the defendant, and so can obviously everybody should the guy be on the street, right? That's the whole point of it.
Right. He's one of the most recognizable people in the world.
Exactly.
Like,
so there they thought, I think it backfired too, but that's a whole nother.
I'm kind of with you on that. I do think that it just kind of became a passing thing. Now they got like the picture right here that Tom's got on his screen of Biden behind him sniffing his hair. That's
right. It became a meme.
Well, wait, there's a lot of different mug shots. Which one's the actual mug shot?
I'm pretty sure the one that Tom's got there is
that's
without
the one.
Biden.
Without Biden.
Well, because there's one that's an actual looks like a mug shot.
There's a lot of fake mug shots.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake ones. That one's the real one.
Oh,
the one where he looks like Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. That's the real one.
Oh, AI generated. Oh, okay.
So again, I'm not a big fan of the guy. I'm hoping that we can get through this election without either of them being there.
You're not the only one. That's
I really don't like either of them for president. There's other people that I like.
Either of who?
He means Biden and Trump.
Yeah.
Who else do you like?
I've said it before, I really like RFK Jr. I'm becoming a quick fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. I hope I said it.
Yes, close enough.
Do you think that the media will treat them fairly?
No, but
How do you think they're going to respond to the media not treating them fairly?
It has nothing to do with how the media treat them. I'm saying
it has everything to do with it.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is who I want. It doesn't matter. I know the media is going to treat them unfairly. RFK is probably not going to get very far because they're already trying to like backdoor him out of it. Like if he's in Georgia, he can't be in North. It's some weird.
Who's
like, the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
DNC. So he's probably has no chance because of the machinations.
Is that the party that hates America?
Yes.
I've seen
yes, it is.
About it in Silver Spring, Maryland.
I stopped at a gas station and I saw this. That's how I found out.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm not talking about their likelihood. I'm talking about who I would like.
I got you.
Yeah, no, and Zeus, just to back up your point, I heard on some show I listened to today, it might have been Shapiro, because he cites polls a lot, and there's a recent poll, and the results.
I don't want to talk about polls tonight.
My point is to back you up. The idea of it was
fucking done with polls.
what it said was that the majority of Americans don't want to see the matchup be what the matchup is going to be. Like they don't want either of those guys to be the final candidate. And you kind of see why. I mean, the one guy's, whether you love him or not, let's say you at least like him, he's facing so many effing penalties and he's got like all these indictments that it might just make you wish you had somebody else to vote for. And then even the Democrats can't defend Biden at this point unless they're just complete left-wing extremists. I mean, I don't see how you could.
I feel like the election has been taken over by the Maury Povich show.
Yeah, kind of.
Hey, I like that show.
Who was the guy? Downey. What was his name?
Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Robert Downey. Yeah.
But that's what it feels like. It feels like it's a really horribly choreographed fucking Biden, you are not the father. Like fucking just so ridiculous. I don't want either of them. Neither of them are the ringleaders. They are the fucking circus. You know what I mean? I just don't want any of them.
Get back on track. Get back on track.
There was that, and then Another big story that happened, and this is all over about the last week and a half. I'm just going through a rough news cycle of about a week and a half. Was Wagner's Prigozhin dying under suspicious circumstances, which I would love to show the video because the suspicious circumstances.
That's an understatement.
Slightly suspicious.
They were filmed. They had a camera
A
waiting.
rocket slammed into his airplane. Yeah, that's a little
No,
suspicious.
but if there's a
That doesn't
video
normally
of
happen.
the plane going down, like they were prepared for this ironically suspicious
But-
situation.
But look, they've confirmed that it was him that died because it was the Russian authorities that said it was definitely him. So of course it was, even though he had like all these other people pretending to be him from, I guess it is. They said they said the DNA matched.
I want to say that a few episodes back when we talked about this at least a little bit when he went into Moscow or whatever, and I said he's a dead man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was stated by me. So coincidence? I don't think so. Suspicious? Most certainly. I love the fact, like Putin, you know, you gotta have a little respect for the brazen fucking assassination of an opposer of him. Like, again, is it just or is it the fact that they filmed the plane going down? They like had it prepared. I
think that's by design, though.
You think?
Putin wants everybody to know that it was him that killed this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the deterrent for everybody else.
He is such a James Bond villain. I got an odd respect for Putin at this point. He fuck it.
It's almost like if he had coordinated with local prosecutors to indict the person who was running against him in the next election. Like, it would almost be that diabolical.
No, it's like a plane being blown up on video. And
no, it's very similar.
I'm sure Biden said, "Damn it, that looked easy."
Yeah. Zeus, if you like that,
they like to touch the hair on my legs.
If you like that, you're in luck, because that's what's coming. We're getting more of it.
I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong.
I'm not.
So what was the next?
Carlson, right?
What was the next story?
The next story was just the debates. You know, that's kind of it's big news, and it was.
I gave you a segue into Tucker Carlson. Why didn't you take that?
That was going to be my next one. Thank you.
Well, you could have rearranged it.
It was the next one.
Is Tom hosting?
Yeah. Are you hosting, Tom?
Yeah, Tom.
I'm trying to help you.
I'm going to mute you.
Pump the brakes. Okay.
So, I mean, there were the debates, which were, from what I understand, I didn't get to watch a lot of them, but from what I understand, they were kind of anticlimactic. There wasn't like a real head guy. I feel like Ramaswamy got a lot of positive and negative press. I mean, for the Republicans, I kind of like him. I don't know if he's who I want for president, but I find him an interesting guy at bare minimum. I heard that DeSantis was trying, but he ducked the January 6th question. The guy Haley was he was kind of staying out of it and worrying about the general election.
Haley's a woman.
The guy?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't watch.
Okay. No, that's cool.
Yeah, like,
that's how far
you're
off the radar
misgendering,
she is.
Zeus. You're misgendering, and I need to call you out on that.
Maybe she identifies.
He might be trans, yeah.
But yeah, overall, it didn't seem, nobody stood out except for, again, Ramaswamy seems to be the person that they talked about, whether it was positive or negative. He's the one that they talked about after the debates, which I find interesting. I need to, look into him a little more, but I don't hate the guy. I can say that. I don't know whether I want him for president or not. I think I made it clear who I'd like to see get up there. But and then there was the Tucker interview with Trump, which I found. So I did watch as much of that as I could, and to Trump's benefit, he was far more sedate than I've seen him in a lot of different arenas. He was less aggressive. I mean, he's I'm 110% this, 110% that, but he was a bit more
Reserved.
calm. Yeah, reserved. That would be the word I would use. Yes.
Yeah, but Tucker was throwing him kind of some dumb questions, it seemed like.
But he responded like he was like, you think they could kill you? And he's like, maybe, but that's not what I'm here for. Like he
definitely kept it at a hushed tone. I agree with you.
I was really and this is all by contrast, but I found him far more presidential than I've seen him in the past. Still a complete narcissist, but there are things where you go and then I did 100% of this and 200% of that, and like just I'm a big guy, bad guy, But I found him a lot more likable in the Tucker thing, and maybe that was by design. Maybe he was like, throw me this shit that I'm just gonna calmly answer. I'm sure there was some of that going on. But that was probably the last story that I really wanted to go, and those were pretty big news stories.
Mike, did you want to say something?
Me?
Did you? Yeah.
With the bio warfare, Zeus.
Yeah.
No, I'll keep my powder dry for now.
Okay.
Well, and this isn't so much about our politics anyway. This is more about how those things distract us from other things that were going on in the background.
All right, cool.
One of the ones that stood out to me a lot was the Pentagon released on like their webpage some pretty frightening storylines. What's that? Did you say something, Des?
No.
Okay. Basically, the Pentagon is saying that we have
Mike's
to have.
making me laugh. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Because I was looking at Des and she didn't say anything.
What? Does Marcellus Wallace look like a bitch? They basically were they're always worried about this, but they were worried enough about it that they put it on their website. They're talking about how we need to be like amping up our gas masks or going from like paper masks to like gas masks. They're saying that essentially it's almost inevitable that we are going to be attacked on some biological or chemical way in the very near future, is what I gathered from it. And I found that disturbing that we're not talking about that. And Mike had said that when I mentioned it to him, he was saying that usually when you have stories like this, that it is followed up with an event that is close to that. Yeah, so like I said, I found that alarming. He said they said that the lessons that we learned from COVID-19, which is another keyword, COVID-19 is going to be in everything we read till the world blows.
Hey, it's making a comeback now.
Yeah, it's making a comeback.
That's one of the other stories that I wanted to talk about.
COVID,
so
it's coming back.
Oh man,
back with a passion.
Yeah, don't call it a comeback. It's been here for years.
Right.
That's it. That's LL Cool J.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So that was one of the other ones.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Do you want to talk about that, or go ahead, Mike?
That's what I'm getting.
What kind of moron do you have to be to wear a mask right now?
Yes, thank you.
I'm just saying. I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm just saying you have to be a complete idiot to be wearing a
I'm the
mask.
hired and want to keep my job, so I'll wear a mask.
I'm
kind
talking
of
about
idiot, 'cause
outside. I'm not talking about if you're a nurse or what. I'm talking about.
No,
I
fuck
see
that.
people driving cars
Well,
still
Yeah,
wearing
but
masks by themselves.
Wait a second. Even if you're a nurse or a doctor, though, Mike, just while we're talking about it, I saw on one of the shows that I watched today that there's a new study. I want to say out of Korea, possibly South Korea, obviously, that they have really determined that the masks include toxins like carcinogenic toxins that you breathe if you wear them too much,
Of course.
like all day,
Probably.
say.
I keep mine around my chin. Keep it around my chin.
What is
That's
that?
actually that's actually what protects you from COVID, is protecting the chin from the COVID isotopes and stuff.
Okay.
So that's
No,
my
but so yeah, so the masks are actually unhealthy for you, has been determined by
Right,
at
but
least
doctors
one
wear them
side.
every day.
Yeah.
Not
Yes, but
all,
they don't
not
wear
all
them
day.
all day.
Yeah,
Not the
They
same
do.
I
one.
don't know. Some
yeah.
of them do.
Some of them do.
A lot.
Well,
Anyway,
If,
they
well,
could
maybe they
also
changed them. I don't know.
Mm,
I'm
But
just
they're
telling you
not
what
they're in
the
a
usually.
study.
hospital.
change them.
Well, also, I know doctors that smoke cigarettes more than I do, so I mean, it's not like that. That makes it okay,
They don't
yeah.
wear the same mask for like 3 weeks in a row like we do.
So
right? It's-
again, this
They
is more
change it.
this is more so the next one was that we're probably looking at mask mandates again.
yeah.
Are we
it-
really?
I'm not.
But again, this was kind of a story that just slipped under all the other stuff going on, all the big explosions and naked people
Yeah.
and whatever.
And Zeus, just to underline your point,
Who's
as far
naked?
as
I
there
don't
are
know.
actually a
Naked
couple
Talk
of
about the naked people.
the reason why it
Talk about
started
them.
as a story is because there are already a few colleges that have let students coming in know that the masks are back, and also some hospitals, from what I understand, around the country.
That's where they're aiming, is for the hospitals.
Yeah.
Here-
So go ahead.
Look, here's
So-
the thing. A lot of these stories, Zeus, and I'm not jumping on you. I'm just saying these stories are always like, some people are saying, experts are pontificating. I
Right.
read something online. There's
Well,
some
the
people on
mask
Twitter that are
mandate thing-
saying, I'm like, it's all bullshit. Like
the
whenever you
mask
hear a
mandate
story,
Fox
I'm
News.
just saying, whenever, I don't care who it is. If you hear a story or read a story and it's like some people or what is, just throw it away. Like just stop reading, go on, do something else, eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like
That was-
save your
Eat it,
time.
Sammy.
That
Eat a Sammy.
That would be
I'm
fine,
saying
but my
that
next-
is propaganda 100%, unless it's sourced to somebody who is a person who has some sort of authority or schooling or whatever.
and that would be
Don't-
fine, but my next story supports this story.
But
Well,
before you go to
also, time out though. On Mike's point, when it comes to the masks, what if the truth is, Mike, that some universities are instituting the masks, and there actually is a medical study that says that masks are harmful if worn too much? Like, in other words, what if that nugget is the truth? Does that make the story meaningless? And I would argue it doesn't. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
if
I mean,
there's
I know that they omit what they wish to omit and they include what they need to include. But there are some
Well, wait.
publications and study and you know that are reporting this stuff that the mainstream news is not. And
Are you
that's where I
trying to
think,
say
know what
that
I
the
mean?
colleges are trying to kill their own customers?
I guess that's if you put the
doesn't make
study
sense.
together. No, but the study's out of South Korea and it's one
I got
study,
it.
and
I
the
got
whole
the
country's
study.
going to ignore it. I mean, so the people that are going to wear masks are going to wear them
Well,
anyway.
I don't think they're trying to kill
I don't know
anybody.
about that, Jack, actually, because a lot of the reels that are coming out in the Instagram, I mean, this is not like my source of information, but there's a lot of people that are going, like, there's these bits. I know, Des, give me 1 sec.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give
I didn't
me
know we had to
advice.
raise our hands, but that's cool.
We don't.
I don't want to interrupt.
There's a lot of like reels and videos
She's
where
so nice.
they're going, yeah, you want me to wear a mask? Fuck you. So there are people that have heard this and they're like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing it. So I don't know how. I think it's going to be a little harder to get everybody wearing masks. Des and I, yes. but I think it's going to be a little harder this time to get people to comply.
I hope so.
Des, what you were going to say?
So, I'd like to preface this with YouTube. This is just a thought experiment.
Oh,
This is not fake news or anything like that. But okay, Zeus, do you remember when we like ran out of masks and shit, and like we started getting those really weird masks in from Korea, like the really weird, like real scratchy ones, real fibery ones.
Because we'd given all of ours to China to help them with
Yeah, they weren't the normal. They weren't the normal ones, and like those, and then
they had like newsprint.
Yeah, and then like the KN95
Oh my
masks.
God.
There's like matchsticks in them.
Anyway, and like the KN95 masks, those type of masks.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if this study out of Korea maybe was studying the fucking weird masks and the KN95 masks.
studying their own mask.
Because they all came from Korea.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Maybe
possible.
maybe this scientific group is against the government and what it does, and they're all going to get executed. I think South Korea doesn't do that type of stuff, but maybe I'm naive.
I'm just saying.
Here's a pretty good place.
If there's anything to that study, there's got to be the fact that there's lots of times of masks out there, especially weird ones.
Now the next story supports the mask. Well, because I think we need to get into this because it'll make a lot of sense. The next story, again, the source is Fox News, so obviously there's bias, but they're saying that Biden is trying to fund the development of a new COVID vaccine, and everybody will have to get a dose. Now, that obviously they can't make everybody get a dose, but I guarantee Des and I will be.
They tried.
Well, wait a second. All right, Zeus, just to Mike's point, you said that they say. So who are they citing anyway? Like, is there some...
I don't have that. Fox
okay,
News,
no, that's fine. Fair enough.
Bit of credibility.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I even give CNN a little bit of credibility.
Well, yeah, they all include what they wish to include, and they omit what they wish to omit. Like there's a narrative, no doubt.
We're playing a game of telephone here because they didn't say that he was going to they said he was going to recommend it.
Right.
That everybody get he didn't say he was going to force everybody to get it.
But I think
not yet anyway.
And either way, these last few stories, I just find alarming that I mean, I guess I surprised all of you with those, like you didn't hear about them. And I feel like they should. I feel like they should be bigger news than, unfortunately, a guy walking into a school and shooting people, because that's like fucking every other week. It should be bigger news than the debates, because they were.
Do you think something that would be big news would be like the president of the United States being taking money and being influenced by China?
It's not about this. Come on.
All right. I'm just saying. I mean, that's what I give a shit about.
Why do you think that the shooting was a big news story? I mean, I've got my answer. I'll give it
because
to you,
it was.
Why do you think it was a big news story?
It was racially motivated.
Was it racially motivated, or was it just a psychopath?
No, he had a manifesto that said that.
Yeah, I think we can, he had swastikas on his gun.
So. Yeah,
I didn't know that. I'm just asking.
It was clearly racially motivated.
We can compare it to the Nashville shooters, man. Oh no, we can't, because they never released
it. Still waiting for that.
No, and they took down all our social media. So
but so again, that was kind of my point, is that we really need to be not just reading between the lines, but just not even looking at the shit they're feeding us, and look at the second story. I think, again, I've said it before, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. This was just kind of an experiment in, do you see where I'm coming from? The mask thing is huge. I mean, who fucking cares about a mugshot of Trump? I mean, I am offended by it, but at the end of the day, it's not forcing me to wear a mask. It's not there. It's very benign on a viewing level. Having to wear a mask again, especially now that we found out that they kill you.
Maybe not. Who knows?
Maybe not.
Or maybe, or possibly getting another booster. That really,
Yeah, that's a
fucks
big
me
story.
lot.
That's a big story, but at this point, it's speculation, right? I mean, that's what.
Yes, it is speculation. I really feel like that's going to be the path that they're at least going to attempt to go down. I think that people are getting a little tired of this stuff, and that may not occur. It may not be mandated. I do think that like people like Des and I, and people, people that are exposed to the public on a regular basis are probably going to have to or seek other employment, and that's going to be a real problem for me because I really don't want to get a booster. I made it through. I'll take my chances.
What's funny about that is this whole vaccine thing is the new one is a whole virus vaccine. So it's like the vaccine that everybody wanted.
Right.
But now no one wants to get it.
Oh, this one's a real vaccine?
Yeah, this one's the real one.
It's actually a dead virus. Or isn't that?
Yeah, the
It's
problem is
live attenuated, I think. I don't know.
I know, but the problem is nobody trusts the science anymore.
Is it not mRNA? It's not a
No, it's a whole virus vaccine.
Yeah,
so it's either dead,
manipulation.
live attenuated, or
Omicron, right? It's an Omicron.
No, this
variant.
is some new version that they're saying is out there. The reason that they were trying to push the new vaccine is because they said that there's a new and the masks and all is because there's apparently a new form of.
And look, this is the consequence that we talked about on this exact podcast, this very podcast, 18 months ago, where
I don't listen to it.
I'm just saying where we talked about the fact that the danger of idiots making
Leave me out of this.
making these rules is that once people don't trust it,
right,
there is a consequence to that. And we even said on this podcast, next time this happens, there are going to be people that are like, fuck this, I'm not doing it.
right.
And that could cause serious problems because who knows if they're right, because the trust is gone. And once the trust is gone, that's the damage. And all these people, the sycophants in the press and in the party that were like, oh man, you just gotta, like, not recognizing the precedents that they were destroying at the time. This is when we're going to be reaping it.
But here's my thing.
And if the next thing, and I'm not talking about this, but if the next thing is serious and there's people that are like, fuck this, I'm not doing it, and
people are going to die, hundreds
and thousands and millions of people are going to die, it's because the Democrat Party needed I'm just saying needed to gain power. Like, that's what it's all about, man. Like, we gotta lie for power, not leveling with people, and this is the consequence of that. Like, and everyone's gonna be like, oh man, I can't believe this is happening. Like, we talked about it 18 months ago on this very podcast. Go back and look.
Fucking Nostradamus and shit.
I'm just saying it's frustrating. I have a hard time finding humor in it because it's serious like a heart attack. And we talked about it a year and a half ago. And now it's like happening. And it's like,
but
everyone keeps saying like, oh man, like, I don't even know. I'm like, listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what we're saying. It's not complicated.
More importantly is, man, again, and I've said it before, choreography versus conspiracy. I think you guys are buying into that a little more. Why, they can go one level. Who's to say they're not going 3 levels down and like, this is what they wanted. They wanted to coal the earth, whatever. You know what I mean? They wanted
who knows?
Who knows?
That's horrible.
But there is something to be. We're just thinking one layer down. Who's to say they haven't planned for 3-4 levels into this and the damage that they can do so that they can profit or so that they can eliminate a certain target group of people or whatever. I mean, it really starts to become conspiratorial unless you look at it from a point of it's a dance that they've been planning for a long time, and now they're even kind of writing the music and I mean
Yeah, no, dude, Zeus, I think it's just a universal belief system that goes back to our Bezmenov episode. This has been going on in this
Yes.
country. This has been going on in this country
Yes.
since the 60s, and it was going to take time. And now those people that grew up, I mean, let's face it, like President Obama was an activist, right? He was a community organizer. We know about the connection to Bill Ayers. Okay, we know about his thoughts from what was his name? Jeremiah Wright. And then he gained power. And I think a whole generation of people that believe the same things are now in power. Nobody thinks that old man Joe Biden, no offense to old people, nobody thinks he's really making the calls here. We covered that, I think, even last week.
Mhm.
So there's a whole body politic there that has grown up with those
indoctrinated.
Bezmenov type goals in their belief system. And I think that's what's happening. I really do. I mean, I hate to sound that crazy, but I don't think it's crazy.
It doesn't sound crazy.
Here's the thing. It's not that it sounds crazy, because at face value, yes, it does sound fucking screaming at the rafters, crazy. But every time that these little intricate changes in the news cycle happen, it sounds a little less crazy. And I'm not saying you sound crazy. What I'm saying is that
no. I wasn't referring to the whole media machine, although if you wanted to make it that big, I think the net goes that big.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the current administration. So I didn't mean to sidetrack.
They own the media. I mean,
I know, I agree. That's all. Yeah, we've covered that too. So I don't want to take you off track. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's beginning to sound a little less crazy each time. Conspiracy is sounding more like choreography. Like they plan this. They know that, like I said, like with the news stories, they know a guy's going to be racially motivated and walk into a place and kill people of a particular type. And that's a hell of a distraction because we are fucking greedy for that shit. Whether we like it or not, we watch it. It's not happening to me. If at bare minimum, if that's all that we're watching it for, is thank God that didn't happen at the school that my kid goes to. I think on that particular subject matter, they like a story where these are the colors. I think that's a fact because I mean I think if a crime goes the other way, like Kenosha, Wisconsin, where a guy drove a truck over a parade and killed kids, that was in and out of the news in like a day.
Right.
Because that's a whole different story, and I think that is part of the larger narrative. They're trying to drum up division, and that's why they
keep us fighting with each other.
Right. Well, that's like the white supremacist party. Like they're taking over the country by that. Like it's just not true. It's part of the narrative.
A good argument for this is again. I'm going to be a Trump guy on this one. They say he's racist. He may. I don't think he. I honestly don't think he is because he employs.
I think you're getting off track, Zeus.
Well, no, but we're kind of into the. What do we think about this? I mean, clearly, stories are slipping through that should be more important. The Pentagon on their website put out a document saying that we should be worried about next level shit. How that is not far more important than Trump's mugshot, I don't get. That's the news I want to fucking know.
But here's the thing, and if our viewer can take anything away from this episode, and I learned this the hard way a long time ago, and it's a very subtle shift in the way you look at things. When you are looking at what is going on in the world, and when you are trying to understand things that are geopolitical internationally, things that are going on within your country, that are going on within your hemisphere, your continent, your county, your town, whatever. You cannot be a passive consumer of news. You can't sit there and just wait to ingest what you're being given. You have to go out
and look for the news
with gloves and a pickaxe and dynamite sticks and find it. Because if you're going to sit around and watch Fox or MSNBC or CNN, I'm not talking to those people anymore.
No. You know what?
You have to go out. Mike. You have to go out and find this information yourself, because if you don't, then you're just playing out a thread that other people are writing.
You're fueling the fire. Yeah, I mean, honestly,
period.
The Tucker interview, I found kind of choreographed. I know I use the term a lot, but I really did feel like it was to ingratiate people to Trump. I think Trump still got a great chance, honestly, of getting the presidency. I'm not happy about that, but I mean, what he says is fact. He's leading the polls, and he's got a mugshot on every fucking news organization you can look at. Mike makes a good point. Is that was again kind of what I was looking at. It's like now I'm looking at the news and then I'm looking at the next article and I'm looking at the next one. I'm going, why isn't this bigger news? I feel like we really, I mean, it's kind of matrixy, man. Red pill, blue pill. We gotta be looking just a little further into everything. You know, you hear about mask mandates, you gotta question why that's happening. But you guys didn't hear about the mask mandates, and that
Zeus, I knew about the mask thing and the vaccine thing. The other stories I didn't really hear get reported. That's true. So
yeah, and Pentagon one's alarming. How is that not massive news? You guys should worry about nuclear, biological, or chemical warfare. Done.
Look,
maybe not those.
The media and the press and the people who are powerful are not. They're not trying to inform you. They're trying to misinform you. So if you are relying on listening and hearing what's being put out there, that's easy to get to. Like, look, how many things in life that are valuable are easy?
Nothing.
Right? So news is the same way. Tom's counting. I'm just saying it's like people need to understand that they are being told they're being told something. And it may be accurate. Maybe. Or maybe it's not.
They've affected the trust so much at this point.
Look, if you want to lose a lot of weight, do you like go online and look, I want I eat gummy bears. I want to lose weight. Hey, Michael, you need to take this pill. It's called the super weight loss pill, and take it every day. And you're okay, I'm gonna do it. And then 6 months later, you're like, man, that didn't work. That's the media. That's the media. If you are, I'm just saying, people need, look, you either give a shit or you don't. If you don't give a shit, then you just watch the news and you just take it in. And you're like, hey, man, whatever. Hey, look, this is the new movie coming out that's really Barbie movie. It's fantastic. And if you do give a shit, then you dig a little deeper and you start trying to figure stuff out and you compare different stories and you become an active participant in it. And if you do that, the smoke clears and you really start seeing what's going on. And I don't need to sit here and explain it. It's just do it. Just
No,
if you
I mean,
start doing it, you're gonna see it. I don't need to explain it to people.
again,
You know?
it's a very
Yeah.
red pill, blue pill, matrixy kind of vibe. It's
Yes,
like,
Well,
absolutely.
And yeah,
I
Mike,
really feel like
just to Mike's point, there it's easier nowadays than it used to be too, because now you can
Yes.
watch you can watch your TV corporate media, but on your computer you can explore other news outlets that you couldn't easily access before. You just
Yes.
gotta look, and don't trust Google or YouTube. You're gonna have to do some digging. It's usually not that available for a reason.
Yeah, don't trust anything. I mean, look, the latest thing this week, and we were talking about it kind of jokingly after the Maui episode, but and there's a lot of links in that episode in the comment section to this gentleman that is a real estate agent, and he has a Starlink, and he's been posting videos every day and talking to people in Lahana, because they have no power, they have no electricity, they have no internet, and he has a Starlink, so he walks around and live streams, and he's completely down the rabbit hole into directed energy weapons, and there's aluminum melting on these cars, which means that it had to be above 1300 degrees, and blah 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 blah.
What do you know?
And you can go down that road. Well, I spent 7.5 minutes looking up some stuff, and most of the aluminum used in car rims, engine blocks, and things like that, it's not like pure aluminum. It's stuff that will melt at the 1000, 1200 degrees. It doesn't have to be necessarily sustained. My point is, as much as I want to believe this guy, because I think he's sincere, a little bit of research, I was like, yeah, I don't know. And I started looking up images of cars that were on fire, and they had the same telltale signs of these little streams of aluminum that were going across the ground, that are in like Fairfax, Virginia, from a barbecue on the side of 495 or whatever. So whatever. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying he's wrong. But it took me like 10
if
minutes.
I wanted to do some choreography, I would set my car on fire and get the insurance money, right?
Right.
You get a new car. See, that's choreography.
That is choreography.
Maybe that's what happened.
I'm just saying that the idea that you can sit back and trust that other people are going to tell you reality. I mean, it may work for you. I mean, maybe the people you're listening to are honest. Maybe you trust the Friends of Zeus podcast, and maybe we're telling you the truth, and that's fantastic. But you have to take some ownership in this yourself. And if you don't, whatever, God bless you. But I don't want to be lectured to by people who are just like not making the effort.
Just eating the food that's been given to them.
And it may be true, or maybe it's not. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, this guy in Hawaii, I'm just using it as an anecdote. I want to believe him. He seems like very righteous. He seems very honest. I think he believes what he's saying, and he may be correct. But I have found he leapfrogs over inconvenient facts that counter what he's saying, and whatever. But that's
I mean, another story that kind of slipped through the cracks a while back was, I mean, maybe it didn't slip through as much because I think we're paying attention, so I can't really speak for the American populace, but Hunter Biden just getting off like on all kinds of shit. Just it slipped through the cracks. But here, I wanted to make a point. What's that? You didn't hear about it?
No, of course I did. I don't think it slipped through the cracks. Most of the media did not want to report it and didn't report it very much. But I mean,
But
they
again,
all
that's
did.
when
They
you
all
talk-
had to report on it at some point. I mean, even CNN talked about it.
Yeah,
So
but the duration is a big part of this. They can report on this. I'm sure the Pentagon thing was reported, but it was reported briefly because it didn't sell toilet paper and fucking milk.
right, like Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Right. Here to me, when is it going to be where they're like, okay, we'll just slip this one through. We're going to put tanks on the corners of every major city. And then it just slips away. And then suddenly the tanks are there and like, hey, we told you. You didn't say anything, because they control how we receive the information, the duration of the story, how long it's a story, how much it's reported. This is the thing that frightens me. And this is why I wanted to do this episode, because I'm really alarmed that stories that I am more concerned with are just kind of in passing. Let's get it out there so we can say we did it and then be done. And
but that's been going on for a long time. That's kind of goes to what Mike's been saying about you have to do a little digging. You can't just digest what's being told to you, because they all have a narrative, like we talked about. They omit what they wish to omit and they include what they wish to include, so that you get a certain, truth, their version of it.
And part of the brilliance of that is the economy sucks, so we're working twice as hard.
Yeah, they're not talking about that a lot.
I have a question for Desiree, just because, just from a perspective standpoint.
Okay.
So how do you engage with news? How do you run across it in your daily life?
Well, I try to avoid it, but if I look it up,
That's
I
smart.
get on like the Daily Mail.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was getting at, is that they've made us not want to watch the news.
Wait, Daily Mail, like from Britain?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, and this is another thing. You have
it's a good news source.
Yeah,
I'm saying there's a generational thing going on. Like, my parents watch TV, right? That's how they get their news. They don't get online. I look online, but a lot of what I digest online are links to TV news, right?
Mhm.
And you have this weird thing going on where you have Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, or what's her name? Reed, whatever, on MSNBC, and no one watches. They have Joy Reid. They have like 10,000 viewers, but
Don't even
the
know what her
internet
name is.
picks up the link and puts it. It goes in the Facebook news feed, goes in the Twitter feed, whatever.
Yeah.
This is how people are ingesting it. So I'm just curious about that. Like, the whole idea of like, I'm gonna turn on the TV at 7 and Dan Rather's gonna tell me no one does that anymore. I mean, the people that do that are like 70 plus years old, right? If that.
Well, there's
how do people get their news?
Well,
it's
okay,
like
so
sound bites.
on your cell phone, if you're like on the home screen, you just scroll over and it has all the news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how you get it.
Well, kind of. I usually don't go that because it's very tailored to what you're looking up. So like on mine, for example, if I do that, there is Sanibel, Lee County residents to stay off Sanibel Causeway during Hurricane Idalia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some restaurant thing, I don't know. Air Seychelles flight lands in Israel after Saudi Arabia emergency landing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so stuff you don't care about, basically.
Is that Pokemon Go? Cool.
Things with videos.
Lots of hurricane stuff. I've not looked up the hurricane one time.
Well, that was another story Zeus could have mentioned, because that's
Cat
been
welcomes
on the
home
news too.
family's new orange kitten like it's her own. Okay. Amazon is having a secret sale on Stanley tumblers.
I know Des is on that one.
But it's like nothing that's important.
You have to seek it out. if you don't look, I'm not trying. Look, I know I'm insane, and I know I look at things differently, or like I seek things out. So I'm not expecting people to be neurotic like I am, but you have to enter into looking at media with a question in mind already. You can't just be a blank slate and just accept what they're telling you. You have to be like, man, I wonder why our Senate hasn't done anything to start impeachment proceedings against Biden, even though there's been all of these emails and evidence released that are completely horrible. Like, why isn't that happening? And then you start researching that. Or you say, hey, I wonder why our president didn't go to Maui for 2 weeks, and why are there still 1,000 people missing? Like, and then you start looking into that. But if you wait to hear a report about it, if the powers that be don't find that tasteful, you're not going to find a story about it, right?
Well,
so you have to push it. And listen, there's people out there who are citizen journalists now because of the technology that we have, where if you just have a cell phone, and a Starlink, you can be Tom Brokaw, and they're out there, and you can listen to them, and they're not always right, but you can at least get some unfiltered information.
But yeah, Mike, that's what I was trying to say before. Like, nowadays, it's easier to do a little digging because we have the benefit of the internet with the TV news. I mean,
yes.
Whereas, when we were kids, our parents, our grandparents, like you said, they had what came out of that box, and it wasn't much.
And that was it.
Well, here's two interesting points. I find it odd that when we look to our news now, it's no longer to a newspaper, to a written document. And allow me this. They say to truly learn, you have to like see, hear, read. Like, you have to do a group of things to truly learn from something. And now we're not giving the read. They're just go right to the video, watch it, take the news that we're giving. We don't have to do all these. Again, it's kind of like the whole leaving at sunrise and coming back at sunset kind of vibe. It's like, we don't have to do all that. It's just fed. We take it in, and that's what we use. That's our knowledge. I find that interesting. But more to Mike's point, in you got to think that these people are smart enough to go to that next level and go, well, we got this guy that likes to scream at the clouds and call it the party and all that other stuff. Let's throw a few stories. Why can't they go that next level and provide Mike, who's looking at certain sources, with stories that feed into his vibe, or me, that I look at stories and they feed into my vibe? I mean, right now they can. If I go on my Yahoo, it's going to talk to me about video games, puppy pictures, whatever.
Yeah, like Desiree said.
I looked at. And I find that really alarming. And again, I'm really starting to believe that maybe I took I don't know which pill, the red pill, the blue pill, but I think I just fucking dove right in, and I'm here in the world. I didn't want to deal with what's really going on. It's alarming, and I this is to Jack's point. I think we're lost. I think I'm really starting to feel like neither side gives a fuck about us, and we're just gonna take what we're fed and move on.
Yeah, Zeus. I have very optimistic days though, because like I know that there are millions of people that are kind of onto this stuff too. It's not just, one commune of people against I mean, there are other people that are onto what's happening, onto like what Mike's talking about, what we talk about on this show all the time. I mean, it's not like everybody is gone yet. Otherwise, why have an election at all? Why talk about this stuff? There's always hope. I mean, I feel that way.
I mean, I'd like to believe that, but
Yeah.
as my eyes opening to the fallacies that are being delivered to us, as my eyes are opening to that, my faith in humanity is diminishing. I feel like people would rather just be fed what makes them feel good and warm and safe.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's the point of this whole thing, is like, we looked at these big things that really aren't that big. The debates, not that big. I mean, they should be, but they were not. Trump's mugshot, not that big. School or a mass shooting. These are all things that we've grown so accustomed to. And then the next story over is about things that I care a hell of a lot more about. And I think it's kind of like them validating themselves for now, until they don't give a fuck about validating themselves anymore. And they just go, right now it's like, hey, we told you about masks. Hey, we told you might have to take another booster. And then when we researched it, yeah, they did, but it was like fucking page 3. That's what bothers me. I think that we are being manipulated on levels that we can't even comprehend. You feel me on this at all?
No, I do. And look, I think the merger of journalism with the immediate access of the internet on our phones, there is a detrimental thing to that. Like, we're all old enough to remember kind of when the internet really started blossoming, and it was like cat videos and zombo.com and sending pictures and whatever, but there was still news. And now it's like it's all kind of the same thing. It's all clickbait. Everything's clickbait. These things have kind of merged, and I really think it's detrimental. I mean, people don't really have a sense of what is going on. I mean, if you look at almost any news, quote unquote, news website, the mixture of political things with sports, with entertainment and lifestyle and true crime, and it just all gets thrown together. And the more you scroll down, you just keep scrolling down. There's more and more and more and more. There's just more and more. Like, it never ends.
There's an interesting there's a podcast that Tom and I butchered one time on our original podcast called Last Podcast on the Left. I've revised my feelings about them. I think they're actually really good. But they talked about...
Well, you butchered them. Wait a minute.
Yes, I did.
It wasn't we butchered them. You
together equally, 50-50.
It's a team. It's a
butchered
team.
Them.
Like how he always said, we really tore him. No,
but
one of us did.
But one thing that they were mentioning on one of their podcasts, it was talking about a serial killer, and it was right before World War II. And I'm just gonna speak in very broad terms, but they essentially said that before World War II, there was this massive interest in true crime and all that. I don't know what the association is, but it's very similar now. Like, true crime is easily the most popular podcasts, the most popular stories. We're talking about the Long Island serial killer, Golden State Killer. I imagine it's some kind of fascination, again, with it's happening to them, it's not happening to us. Now we got mass shootings, and again, it's happening to them, it's not happening to us. I don't know where the association is, but I really feel like we're on the cusp of something probably pretty bad, because we are fascinated by those things and less fascinated by things that affect us directly in our lives.
I think we always have been. Like right
Yeah,
before World War II, the Lindbergh baby, that was a big story, and then Jack the Ripper, turn of the century. But even going back into the Middle Ages, people always turned out like for a good hanging or a good witch burning or
yeah.
guillotine head chopping off. I mean, that
You know,
was
in Paris, there's a big old Ferris wheel where the guillotine used to stand.
okay.
Wow.
Does
Just
it
saying.
chop
I
your
did not
head
know
off
that.
as you go around? And
No, but
I
they
li-
just tore that thing down in the 80s. That's crazy.
Wait,
I-
so they put
I live off of a
they
road
put it
called-
where it used to be.
Mhm.
Oh, they
I-
put a Ferris wheel where the guillotine used to be.
but there
Guillotine,
wasn't
yeah.
just one guillotine. Was I mean, I imagine that they were all over the place in France, weren't they?
Well, like the guillotine, the big one.
Yeah, but
The-
why
the
would
Big
they?
Daddy.
Wait, why would they put a Ferris
multiple
wheel
heads
on?
in it.
Forget.
Because it's right there in like City Square,
No,
What's the
but why would
question,
you
Jim?
put a Ferris wheel on like a historical landmark? Like I don't
because
know
it's
why.
right there in the middle of like City Square. It's not I mean, is it a historical landmark?
Yeah,
Well,
it's kind of
yeah.
part of French history that's often looked at unfavorably.
Well,
like
now
why?
there's a Ferris wheel there. Happy.
Wow. Okay.
Replace sad with happy.
Did they put like a Disney World where the Bastille used to be?
Wow.
Just because it was right in the middle of
Sesame cake.
City Square. It's where
Right.
it was. And so that's why they put
I
that.
find it
Well-
interesting that they get rid
Just
of
a fun
like
fact.
I find it interesting that they get rid of like Lee Highway. They change it to I don't even know what they named it, but I find that interesting. But what crosses Lee Highway is a road called Gallows Road. Like literally.
And that's what it was.
I think
But
there's
they
a
just-
courthouse nearby, right?
Let's get rid of the guy that was living in the South and fighting for what was normal at the time. I'm not saying these are good things or bad things, but he was keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? Not good,
When
mostly bad, but you get rid of his name and you keep
Going off the rails here. The
The
Confederacy was mostly bad. Okay.
yeah. Here's a question. I mean,
I'm
and
against the Confederacy. No, but wait, but here's my point. You get rid of
we
this
were
one
trying
guy
to save you.
No, I'm not. This is not racially motivated. What I'm
You
saying
know,
is he was a piece of shit. Yes.
Executions are preferred to.
I don't think
Confederate-
Lee was a
Right.
piece of shit.
Is you keep the name of a road that literally is about murder, and you get rid of one guy's name. That the street has been there for 50 years. The word police, everything. It's just overwhelming.
It's ignorance, man. Like people don't even know anything about
Right.
Lee, man. And it's whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, my whole thing is, and this is maybe this is rhetorical, but I'd love to throw this around, and I have an answer, but I'd like to hear you guys.
Okay.
What time can you look back in your life, and it could be in the past, it could be now, whatever, where the news of the day affected you, like punched you in the stomach, like where all this theoretical stuff that people talk about.
The Challenger blew up. Yes, definitely. There were times in my life where the news really.
Wait, okay, let him finish. I don't even know where.
No,
he was going.
I'm just saying, like, where the news about something like affected your life, like directly
impacted your life.
impacted
Not just
you.
made you feel something.
Not you couldn't just turn off the TV and go about your day. Like the news had a serious impact on your life.
Yeah.
Well, for me, probably 9/11. I mean,
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
No,
9/11, that's a good.
I remember 9/11. I remember 9/11 because I had family like right here. And
Mhm.
I was that pretty much ended my day because I left work and I spent all day on the phone trying to get through to everybody. Like I
Yeah.
remember, that for me is the day. And that took the worst attack on, America in history for me to be impacted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that
I-
says something, Mike.
I'm
don't know.
impacted
Yeah, no,
by all this.
that's
All the
why I'm
recent
asking.
stuff impacts me. I mean, I told you a few weeks ago when we talked about the indictment. I was numb that day.
Yeah,
No, I was
That
too.
was like a gut punch.
me too.
And
I
every
was
day you read
too.
the news, it's like a gut punch every day, basically.
Well,
Yeah, well, no, but Mike, the difference though that my understanding was impacted your life, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah,
the Trump thing was a gut punch, kind of like, what did Zeus reference? He said the Challenger exploding or whatever.
yeah.
Like the Trump thing was a gut punch like that. Like you shut the TV off and you were numb, like
It
Tom said.
preoccupies your mind
like
the rest
I
of the
was-
day.
who's
I
deciding who? I mean, that affected me because I was like, what?
No,
Someone's
I'm just trying.
deciding who I can vote for.
Right. No, I'm trying to just get your
Yeah.
definition of
I mean,
right.
for me personally, it was back in '08 or whatever when like our economy hit the fucking wall and I had a small business and
Yeah, that's your life.
my best friend who's still my best friend, which is amazing.
What?
And
What the fuck?
yeah, sorry guys.
What
Well,
the
one of my best
actual
friends.
fuck,
Anyway,
motherfucker?
we went bankrupt. Like the news, like
Mike's off the show.
we had contracts that got canceled,
Yeah,
and
that's life impacting, I think.
and that's life
But I think
impacting, and it was.
I mean, there's a
and
difference
no one,
between the news
and no one went to jail.
impacting you versus,
Well,
these things are actually
I'm
impacting
saying
you.
I looked at the
That's the
news,
difference.
and a month later, I went for I went about 18 months without a paycheck, like just burning through savings.
I don't think you're being honest, Mike. You can't tell me all this stuff that's been going on for the last, say, 5 years hasn't weighed on you.
No,
that
it
you
has.
don't feel
I'm saying
anything
I'm
from all
using
this?
this as an example. No, it absolutely has weighed on me. Like we talked about our first episode of this podcast. I was like,
Mhm.
my daughter is going to school in this Marxist county, and I have to spend. I'm already spending insane property taxes, but I also have to spend an
Right.
additional
So these things
$12,000 a year to
qualify?
send her to a school
These
because I
things not
don't.
qualify for your
So
question?
naturally,
No,
you're
no, it
froze by
does.
that
No,
too.
I have plenty. I
Don't
have
go back to 2008.
many
then.
examples.
There's-
I have
Well,
many examples.
Yeah,
There's
no,
nothing-
yeah, Tom, Mike was agreeing with you on the Trump indictments.
I'm agreeing with you on that. Yeah. I mean, to
Yeah,
me,
and
I
I
look
guess-
at the Trump
I
thing, I'm
guess-
like, who are these people telling me who I can vote for?
Yeah, no, I get it. In the terms of actually impacting your life, you're right. I mean, that's definitely one that's even impacting everybody's, whether they know it or not.
Yep.
Well, here's what I like to say about that. Columbine was a huge one for me back then. If Columbine were to happen now, maybe a month in the news cycle, maybe.
I'm talking about dollars, dude. I'm talking about like affecting your life. Like immediate effect.
So you weren't like awestruck watching the news for
I was,
when that happened?
but it didn't affect my life directly.
It completely affected my life. I was horrified by that.
All right, well, Zeus, just
Yeah.
just to
I
kind
didn't
of
go bankrupt.
No, Zeus, I think you're going back through things that impacted your life, but I think what Mike was looking for was what was the last thing that you felt impacted your life, right, Mike? Was that Mike?
Yeah, yeah. Like what I'm saying is there are things out there that are impacting our life right now. There are things that are going to impact our life, and people, I don't understand. Like they're not seeing it.
Well, because it's
it's-
because it's underreported, like Zeus says, like the things that Oh, wait a minute. You mean like no? You're talking about what's going on with Trump. Obviously, everybody knows about that. They just don't see what you're seeing.
But do you fail to realize that maybe not Challenger, obviously that was a horrible fine.
I don't know what
but Columbine, do you fail to realize that like Columbine started this cycle of death and violence that we just started taking in, and does that make us less sensitive to sensational things that are out there, and we don't look as closely as we would have normally.
No, I would go the exact opposite way. I think the fact that there's children that have to go through, drills, live shooter drills. That, I mean, you have something that impacts 0.0001% of the population, and yet you have 99% of the school population having the psychological weight of having to go through live shooter drills.
Well, they did the nuclear
and you have-
drills
you
where they
have
had to get under the
5-year-olds
desk, and that
you
impacted
have
zero.
5-year-olds that have to
but-
contemplate what it means to have their teacher killed, or they got to duck behind a wall. I mean, so what's the greater evil? I don't know, man. I mean, what is the greater evil?
I think desensitization to these awful things makes us more accepting of,
Or the
Right. I mean,
sensibilization.
in the 50s, 60s, it was hide under your desk. It was duck and cover. And then in the 90s, we had the 80s, the day after the movie.
I lived 18 years in Baltimore City, and there are high schools in Baltimore, I mean, most of them, where they have 0% of the students graduating being able to pass basic math tests. That's a pretty detrimental problem, big time, and no one talks about that. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't fear live shooters. I just don't. I'm taught to, I'm told to, but I don't.
Nor do I. But it is, if you hear your school gets shut down and your kid's there, you're like, okay, what's it
I would
about?
freak out. Yeah, I would totally freak out.
I feel like there's a lot of desensitization, and we're not paying attention to the real news. I mean, it really this episode has actually come back a lot to the core thought is we've been so overwhelmed with everything that we're having a hard time focusing on what really affects us. I mean, I hate that I found those. I mean, again, they're kind of benign news stories, but if they become bigger, having to wear masks, having to get another booster, and fucking chemical agents being thrown into our cities, they can become much bigger. And then the government or whoever is in charge of what we're getting anymore, I don't even know. They just get to go, hey, we told you. And then that's like a, blank,
Zeus, I'm not directing this at you, it's a rhetorical question, but if something horrible happens where there's some sort of chemical agent released or COVID part 50, that's actually
it's definitely the Chinese.
My point is, who do you go to? Who do you go to for information?
The same people.
I'm saying, who do you go? Who's the same people?
I don't even know anymore, man. Dude, I haven't watched.
That's my point.
I haven't watched the news
isn't that horrible?
In years.
But isn't that horrible? Isn't that depressing and sad?
Like I said earlier, it's like we don't even look to a newspaper anymore. Washington Post, fuck that.
Where's Walter Cronkite?
The best videos.
Wait a minute. The Washington Post and the New York Times have a huge internet presence. I mean, they're
okay. Let's not get wrapped up in that. What
I'm saying, isn't that horrible?
Don't muddle the issue with that.
No. My point is we don't look at print. Again, as I was saying, in a learning.
Well, yeah, we don't look at print, Zeus, because we don't have to. I mean, you get the same.
But there's an argument in learning that you learn from reading, hearing, seeing. There's several aspects to actually learning, and they've literally removed print from. I mean, not yet, but we're getting there where it's just go to the video.
If you woke up tomorrow and there's sirens,
articles.
Well, I'm just saying, if you woke up tomorrow and there's sirens going off and your feed is filled with beware of the zombies or whatever, where would you go for legit info?
Friends of Zeus podcast.
Exactly, Tom. That's
Literally,
where I've been going.
Hit like, hit
Hey, look at my
subscribe.
newsroom
You know what?
behind me. You think I'm not enlightened?
Just
If
to,
you, yeah, I'm sorry,
to,
Des.
to have a comic relief, like randomly, sometimes the tornado sirens will go off and it's not warranted. Like, okay, they go off every day or every Monday at noon. They go off, test them, great. But then, like, randomly on a Thursday at 4 p.m., they'll be going off, and it's like, there's no tornado. And
Wow.
every time, what you do, you go right to Facebook, and everyone's posts, why is tornado sirens going off? Why is tornado sirens going off? Anyone know why tornado sirens go off? And eventually somebody will put, like, why the tornado sirens are going off. And you're like, all right, cool. We're not going to die.
Because
So like somebody hacked them, or like they're doing upgrades, or they're whatever, but they don't report that. And then usually if it's like 4 p.m. on the 5 o'clock news, they're like, oh, the tornado sirens were going off because of what
keep us
I mean,
alarmed.
So
to look
Facebook.
Keep us
to
nervous.
look
Keep us
to look
alarmed.
back at our last episode with the whole Maui thing, and I've
Oh,
done
you
a
got to
lot
talk
of.
about DEWs.
But before I'm just saying, I looked into it a lot. I've done a lot of reading, looking at videos, blah 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 blah. On Front Street in Lahana, the people who listened and obeyed the police officers and the traffic cops and all that were like telling people and pushing people back, they were incinerated. The people that were like, F you guys, I am getting out of my car and I'm running over here, they're the ones that survived. And I'm not saying that I'm not anti-government. I'm really not. I want to love the government. Like, I want the government to function properly. We are the government. But my point is, you have all these stories of people that were like, bugger this, I'm going here. And they lived. And the people that obeyed became crispy critters.
Essentially, wasn't there a story where they were like, they started sending
That's horrible.
Yeah.
and like away from the place where most counties and cities in the United States, where they send you when things are bad, they send you to the schools because they're shelters, and they sent them home.
Yeah.
So you
I would
guys
just
are
go
saying,
get a raft and go float my ass in the middle of the ocean. I don't know why this is
Some
such
people
a
did
hard
that.
Some people did that.
Some
Yeah,
people did
a lot of them drowned.
And they drowned.
drowned.
Yeah.
They
In a
Yeah,
couldn't
but at
boat?
least they didn't burn. I hear burning's a pretty bad way to die.
Okay, well, I can swim. And I can
I'm-
also get my ass a
Anyway,
boat.
Mike, as far as that story goes, I saw some of that too, so thanks for remembering a very underreported story.
Yes.
Did you see the video of the guy? He looked homeless and he had a bicycle or something, or he was walking and he saw all the cars stopped and he kept walking to the police officer who was blocking everybody.
Yeah.
And the cop said to him, you got to go back. And the old man said, no, I'm on foot. I'm walking,
His name's Fish. Yeah.
You saw that guy?
Yeah, I saw his name's Fish. Yeah.
Oh,
and he was like, no, man. My point is, look, whatever, I don't care. You guys know my politics. Put that aside. I don't even give a crap. It's not about politics. It's when we as a society cease trusting each other and cease trusting the norms, and it's like, oh, there's a policeman, I can trust him. Oh, there's an arrow. There's an arrow pointing to the right, so I should go to the right. When you cease being able to trust that, we're in a bad place, man. And that's where we are right now. And then you have these stories
with the Maui thing. It's like,
yeah,
saying go back to your home, and they're like, but there's fire right there.
Right. And the people that were like, screw you guys, live to tell about it, and they're like, well, there's not that many people missing. It's like, well, no, it's because these were entire families and there's no one left to report them missing.
Yeah,
that's
Hold on, I have a
that's
question.
a problem.
This might sound stupid, but how'd that fire start? Do we know?
Direct energy weapons.
Oh, gee, thank you,
I mean,
Des.
down power lines, direct energy weapons. Who knows?
Space
I mean, direct
lasers.
Tiki torch left unattended.
power lines down. Like here on the East Coast, where power lines get blown down in 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. All the time.
They should be stronger, you would think, in the middle of the
Who knows?
Yeah.
Look, if you don't buy the crap that they're selling, now all of a sudden you're a conspiracy theorist. That's what makes me crazy. I'm like,
Well,
Okay, so we don't know how
we
how the
don't
fire
know.
started.
We don't know.
Oh,
We
so
don't
it
know.
was
Yeah.
a tiki torch unattended.
It could
Well,
be.
So Jack
Well,
was
that's how most wildfires start, campfire
Jack was
unattended.
like, "What is a DEW?" And I kind of explained that in the text stream. And in Jack's like, "Well," I said it. He said that sounds crazy, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's sort of like a Marxist group taking over the country and blah blah blah." And he goes, "But that's really happening." And I'm like, "Until there's actually direct energy weapons that are aimed at the Earth to burn, because." It's obviously nonsense, but they're getting really good at the compelling part where they're like, cars are melted to the ground, and then there's a bush next to them that is lush and green.
Yeah.
It does cause you to question. I do still think that it was just whatever they say it is. But our trust in the media has become so fucking stretched thin that start to go, maybe it is a microwave from space.
Zeus, when people are like,
Right.
"You're absurd. How could you possibly believe that it would be a direct energy weapon?" I'm like, how can you possibly believe what you're being told?
Right. That's what
Yeah,
it's
tiki
like
torch unattended.
I feel like I'm in
Fucking
a
rational.
Lucy skit, or I feel like I'm in a bad Pink
You win the
Panther
top.
movie. Like, it's very upsetting.
And again, I'm way more choreography, less conspiracy, but goddamn, if they haven't gotten us not trusting them so much that you start to go, could be a laser. I mean, I'm not saying I do think it is.
They exist.
I'm not saying that if somebody proved it and it was undoubtable that I'd be surprised.
Well, you've got real estate people that are diving in, like parachuting in to buy property.
That's actually not true. They actually put a
Kibosh?
a memorandum, or they were like, no, nobody can buy land.
Moratorium.
Did Bezos's land get burned?
Huh?
Jeff Bezos, did his land get burned?
I don't know, but there was another conspiracy that all the blue houses weren't.
Yeah,
burned.
wait a minute, guys. We did that episode. It was last week. Check it out on the
Okay,
Free
yeah.
Podcast.
Let's move on.
But the point is that we now question everything. They've got us.
Right.
Isn't that horrible?
Yeah, it sucks.
It's depressing. It's mortifyingly depressing. And trust me, I know about mortifyingly depressing.
But isn't it horrible too? Like when people are like, "Oh man, you're being a conspiracy theorist." I'm like, "No, man, I just have my eyes open. Like I'm not accepting things because what I'm being fed is BS most of the time. I don't want what I'm being fed to be BS. Look, I want Walter Cronkite back. I want to turn on the news at 7 because my daughter is in swim team. I've got a hobby flying RC planes. I'm making out with my wife. I'm making dinner. I'm mowing the lawn. And then I turn on the news at 7 and Walter Cronkite's like, "Michael, here is what's going on in the world. I'm going to take half an hour." And then I turn it off at 7:30. I'm like, "Oh man, that's tragic," or "That's fantastic." And then I proceed with my life. That's what I want. Is that horrible? Is that so wrong? Isn't that what we used to have?
No, I don't think it was, Mike. I think
Maybe
this has
not.
been going on. I think it's been going on for a long time. Hey, didn't you read Bias? You read Bias?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What was that guy's name from CBS?
Goldberg.
I own it. Yeah,
Isn't it Goldberg?
Goldberg. He is the Moses of our podcast. He opened up my eyeballs. He's the one that got me into reading Thomas Sowell. He's the one that like opened up my eyes to everything. Yeah, Goldberg. Yeah, Bias. That was
Thomas Sowell, isn't that the guy from Starsky and Hutch?
No, that's
No.
David Soul.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
different guy. No, but yeah, Bias. I mean, Jack. I mean that
From
started
Korea.
everything for me personally.
Yeah,
That
no, I
book.
remember. I remember seeing him on TV all the time back then, and I remember that was you had mentioned that you read that. At least I
Yeah,
thought. I
no,
guess
I
was
own
right.
it. I'm looking up here on the shelf. I have it. I just don't know where it is. No,
I
that
think we gotta revisit-
Bernie Goldberg.
Bernie,
Bias.
We gotta
Bernie
revisit
Goldberg.
Desmond
He was
Hoffman.
he was a CBS guy, a lifer.
Yes. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Zeus, Zeus is texting me. What are you
Sorry.
trying to say? What are you trying to say, brother?
Nothing.
Oh, see, no, that was my segue.
I'm
Oh,
sorry
well,
if I took over your
Joe,
podcast, Zeus.
Yeah, how do you? I just called you Joe. That's gonna fucking come back to haunt me. How you feeling about the episode so far, Jack?
I think
Well, I thought
yeah.
it was going. I thought it was going strong, but I guess we have been on for a little while, guys. I think it might be time to wrap things up. I'm just saying.
He's just saying.